why don't you show us a little bit about a basic, in this case, unidirectional wind automatic workhorse.
Of course, the 7750.
I'll be your hand model.
Okay, thank you. The 7750 is single directional or unidirectional, winds in one way. If you give it a little shake, Tim, you can actually see which way. You know, it's actually gonna wind one way, and what it does, it'll free spin the other way. So when you talk about 7750s, I had a question today. Somebody emailed in about a Patek Philippe, and he was concerned about the noise, rotor noise, and if it had any. Compared to a 7750, which was kind of ironic that he brought that up, and that's what brought up this topic for tonight. The 7750, because it's single directional, and it has a very comparatively large mass of weight. Once the watch gets wound up, if you flip your wrist one way, you'll actually feel that weight, and it just free spins. It'll just sit there and spin, and you actually feel a pulsation on your wrist. That's personally one of the reasons I'm not that fond of a 7750. That's one of the drawbacks. It is efficient. It was designed as an automatic, but it is a single directional automatic. It does have some drawbacks too. The 7750 has drawbacks in the coupling system. And what you have, because you have the weight, and this is actually a 7750 weight. If I could pick it up here. I was supposed to have a toothpick and I forgot to bring one.
Yeah, believe it or not, toothpick. Probably the best watchmaker tool that you don't really have to pay for. So guys, I thought I'd just throw in a little bit of information and background. What we're looking at is the winding rotor for a Valjoux 7750, and it's
ball bearing.
It is ball bearing. It is steel ball bearing, I believe, right?
Yes, steel ball bearing, which also adds to the noise factor. And again, I don't have a toothpick to post it on. That would have been the best way to do it. But what it does, it's on the bottom side of it, the side you don't see, it's actually geared. It has a nice gear right around the outside of the ball bearing, and that in turn drives a set of gears, reduction gears, that works down the train to power the mainspring, to turn the ratchet wheel. Where the 7750 has one of its flaws is when it's fully powered, that the oscillating weight can spin one direction. If it catches the other way and in a perfect storm, everything's right, it actually breaks loose the ratchet driving wheel. And I don't know if we have a picture of one or not, the ratchet.
On the ratchet driving wheel, not in this case. Okay. We have the 7750 complete.
The ratchet driving wheel will actually decouple. It'll actually break itself. And that's one of the checks we have to do every time we overhaul 7750, and actually one of the parts that we like to replace every time we do an overhaul, because we don't know if it's going to last another 5 years or so, or 10 years or whatever the time. We don't know how much time was on the watch to start with. So that's one of the drawbacks on the 7750, but it is a single directional, but because of the mass and everything, it's also a very efficient 7750, or a very efficient winding system, and that's why it's used with so many different complications and manufacturers.
Yeah, and if I could just add, there are degrees of roughness, noise, noise, vibration, and harshness, to use the automotive phrase. You start with the jeweled staff, probably the smoothest, also probably the most vulnerable to damage, but that's your pre-Rolex 4130. So before the in-house Daytona caliber around 2000, almost everything Rolex did that was automatic was a jeweled staff. So you're talking about a rotor that's pivoting on jewels. It's that simple.
Yeah. And pivoting on jewels with a gear that goes on top of it, and just a drive system. It's very efficient. It's very, very quiet. But like you said, the jewels do break.
That's the quietest. It's not the toughest. But also Rolex had that system winding bi-directionally too, so there was no unloaded direction where it could freewheel.
Exactly.
So you didn't hear it, you didn't feel it. Now, a step up from bi-directional with a jeweled staff in terms of roughness would be either adding a unidirectional winding system or steel bearings. Now you're feeling and hearing.
Everything transmits. It transmits the sound, it transmits the vibration through the watch. When we have watch cases, everything it seems to amplify. You know what you're hearing. Again, a 7750, when we service them, we put one small drop of oil on one bearing. There's actually 5 little bearings inside of here. We'll put one drop of oil on one bearing and let it carry itself around, and that it really reduces the sound. It doesn't last forever, but it works. And there's a test we do to see the freeness of the bearing and everything. And that's actually what I wanted to demonstrate, and just forgot to bring the toothpick.
Oh, you see, we've got everything. Cost, no object. The problem is, when you have a no-cost component,
there you go.
It's not the right object.
That's the one you don't remember.